I wanted to tell you a story of working with my mother. She died in 2012 of ALS. While I was there doing the Bengston Method on her twice a day, that's before I learned how to do it all day long, she was able to, her muscles worked a little better. And she says, it's the devil. So she was hallucinating this horrible thing. So what I did, put my hands on her, put my arms around her, and started cycling. And you know what? Within 30 seconds, that devil was gone. Hello. This is Suzanne Clegg adjusting the camera. Here we go. Does that work? Trying to figure out how to show you where I am and not just be so backlit that we can't talk. You can't see me at all. I'm here in my RV, enjoying the Arizona winter. Got down to 48 degrees last night. Oh my God, so cold. So today's theme is about treating things other than cancer. A lot of people come to my group because they know that I'm really good at the Bengston Method. And I've tried to make this accessible to people who don't know the Bengston Method, which means when we do it, we're not, some of us are doing the Bengston Method, but some of us are not. For those of you who don't know, William Bengston has done 15, 18, I don't know, more than that. He's done way more than 18 studies, but he's done that many animal studies showing complete cancer remissions in mice in a mouse model that has otherwise 100% fatality. And the mice not only get better, but they stay better for the rest. They can't even be injected with cancer. It doesn't work anymore with them. And, that opens up a host of other research questions and how to apply it to people. But I'm one of the people that is attempting to apply it to people. And so if you're new, if you're a Bengston person, just know that this is, if you're cycling, yeah, that's fine. But like if we were in a group of only Bengston practitioners, we would probably not be doing a guided visualization, although we could play with that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing anti-Bengston about that. But the difference would be that the people, that we wouldn't think we were doing anything with the guided visualization. So often with guided visualizations, you actually think that it matters whether, you saw rainbows and butterflies or goblins and other things. And I know with my shamanic work, it makes a big difference, but that's not how we're working here. The reason I do a guided visualization is to create a resonant bond with the participants. And if you know the Bengston Method, you know that there's many, many ways to do that. But I just figured, well, we're distance healing, let's do something to resonate with each other. And since we don't necessarily have a common body of knowledge to resonate with, so if somebody's had a similar training and you say, okay, go do that, you're instantly resonating. You're doing a similar thing. But in this Facebook Live group, we don't, I want it to be available to everybody. So those of us who know the Bengston Method, let's do it. And those of that you don't, all I can say is that the Bengston Method is much more neutral than anything I've ever learned before. It's not about pulling bad stuff out of people. It's not about putting good stuff into people. It's not about manipulating images at all. But we're working here, well, you're not manipulating them. Bengston Method, you do work with images, but not in slow motion. So it's a powerful, powerful method. I've used it for all sorts of things, which is what I really wanted to talk about. I wanted to tell you a story of working with my mother. She died in 2012 of ALS. And she was diagnosed with ALS like 2 months before she died. Like nobody knew why she had all this pain and paralysis. And finally she got the right diagnosis. And I was living in New York. She was living in Utah. And I was able to go and spend several weeks with her. But I, had to leave my children and my practice. And I couldn't spend forever with her. But when I got there, she was on morphine because it hurts a lot to have ALS, end-stage ALS. And she was loopy and constipated from that. and I started doing the Bengston Method on her. And she started not needing the morphine as much. Like the pain, she really didn't need it. And she knew the dangers of too many narcotics, certainly, and she was on hospice, so she really knew the dangers of too much morphine. And her attitude was, I'm here until the good Lord takes me. Until then, you know, I want to do my best to live well. So I'm sure it was depressing to be in so much pain and to be paralyzed, but she was ready to live her days however they were. And I remember learning that sometimes you're sick because other people need to take care of you, and that's the reason. You know, there's all sorts of karmic and soul reasons why we get sick that are complicated, that the mice in Bengston's studies probably didn't have as much of. They were genetically similar. They kind of had their mousy needs taken care of at least identically. And they might have had needs, but they all didn't have them, you know, so whatever, like to roam free in the fields or something. But anyway, I digress. So back to my mom. So I got there, and she just like didn't need the morphine. So they reduced her dose, but they reduced it way too, and I was doing the Bengston Method on her, and she always felt so much better. I remember her saying, because her mouth was mostly paralyzed, she says, oh, how'd you learn how to do this? You know, like, and I just said, I didn't learn it from you, Mom. Because she'd always kind of wondered why I was an acupuncturist, and, you know, like, you know, her idea of a good medicine was the orange pill bottles, and she just loved science and respected it so much, and so did I, but, you know, anyway. But I didn't necessarily respect the orange pill bottles as much as she did. Anyway, so to make a long story short, they pulled her off. She had a morphine patch, and they pulled it off, and they pulled it off too soon or too much. And I remember one night she woke up with night terrors where you're hallucinating. And my mother was the most level-headed, not a drop of dementia, even though she's in her 80s, just so smart and so grounded. And she was well, you would call it a hallucination. And she stared, I got up to her because she was like, come, come, come. And she was thumping on the floor, like that was her way to call me because she couldn't talk very well. And she was pointing, and she says, it's the devil. So she was hallucinating this horrible, horrible, horrible thing. So what I did is I put my hands on her, put my arms around her, and started cycling. And you know what? Within 30 seconds, that devil was gone. And she was like panting with relief. And just like, I don't, you know, basically, I don't ever want to do that ever again. And I said, oh, that maybe it came from, you know, the withdrawal and all that. But let me tell you, she was so grateful to have the Bengston Method. And I did a prayer too, but, you know, who knows what worked. But all I can say is that when I left, I had to leave after a few weeks because I couldn't stay away from my family for that long. She went back on the morphine and died a few weeks later. So that's, and I've had so many other things, but that was just an intimate one of somebody who doesn't have cancer, who has an autoimmune condition, who, and I didn't say that while I was there doing the Bengston Method on her twice a day, that's before I learned how to do it all day long, you know, she was able to, her muscles worked a little better, but she was really at end stage, so our goal was to get it to be comfortable. So if you're here for cancer, great, I love you. If you're here as a caretaker or for some other reason, I love you too. And yes, you can benefit. I'm always treating the whole person. And by the way, the healing's already started. I forgot to mention that. Whenever I click on the Facebook, I just start my image cycling. And one of the images on my list is to have dramatic cures in the Facebook group. So that's what I want. I don't know if it's possible, but it's happened before, and I would like that, so it goes on my list. So I start spinning, and then I don't think about the dramatic cures. I don't try to make them happen. I just try to teach you and spin and try to create resonance. So hopefully that story about my mother created a little resonance, helped you see me as a person, got you excited about spinning meditations. And if you know how to do a spinning meditation, I'd invite you to turn it on right now, okay? And hopefully an image on your list includes the healing that you desire today. But then we don't focus on it, we focus on the here and now. You could say that the healing that you want is in the future by definition, and because it's something you don't have right now. So, but right now, you're watching this video. So that's where you're at. And now we're going to do a guided visualization. And again, don't make it too important, but do it. The importance is for the resonance. And yeah, you'll get information that's sort of cool and fun, but don't think that if you visualize perfectly that it will make that much difference. Just showing up and being here with your heart open to the possibility of healing, that's the great resonator. And you don't have to be a great visualizer to do that. You just have to want or need healing. All right?